Bonjour. In today's challenge, we're going to talk about making agreement in the Passé Composé. So what I mean is, do we make agreement between the subject and the past participle or something else? Because there are other times when you are required to make agreement in the Passé Composé. If you are new to the Passé Composé, just listen and watch and try to absorb this. Don't get overwhelmed by it. If you're new to the Passé Composé, stick to the basics, but watch and learn, because there's a lot more to the Passé Composé than what you learn in the very beginning. All right, so let's have a look at this first one. Louise, and your verb is s'occuper, which is a reflexive verb, requires être as a helping verb. Les cheveux elle-même, et elle n'est pas contente du résultat. So this means Louise cut her hair herself, and she is not at all happy with the result. Now, I want you to put this in the Passé Composé, and then tell me as well if you need to make any agreement on that past participle. All right, here we go. Just put me on pause if this goes too fast for you, okay? Louise s'est coupé les cheveux elle-même et elle n'est pas contente du résultat. Look, I did not put an extra E on coupé, even though Louise, my subject, is obviously a feminine subject. Usually we say, okay, être is my helping verb, I have to make agreement. But look, les cheveux is a body part. And when you have a reflexive verb that's followed by a body part in the Passé Composé, you do not make agreement. And I call this the body part rule. If you're really into grammar, you can also just call it a direct object, because that's what it is. But I call it the body part rule because anytime you have a reflexive verb followed by a direct object, well, the direct object is going to be a body part. So no agreement, body part rule. Okay, on continue. Numéro 2. Elle se l'est coupé bien trop court. Now, this is a bit advanced because not only do we have se couper, your reflexive verb, but we also have a direct object pronoun in there. So I want you to say what this means is she cut it way too short. Now in English we say it. We don't say she cut them way too short, right? But remember in French, les cheveux is going to be plural. So what are we going to do with this? Again, put me on pause if you need time to think about this. Here's the answer. Elle se les est coupées bien trop court. Elle se les est coupées bien trop court. All right, this totally goes against everything we saw in number 1 because we are talking about her hair, right? Her hair is a direct object. That's a body part. But now we have replaced the direct object or the body part with a direct object pronoun, les, to replace les cheveux. Now what happens is we have a direct object pronoun that comes before the past participle. And anytime that happens, you have to make agreement not between elle and couper, but between the direct object pronoun and coupé. So, elle se les est coupées bien trop court. Now we have an S on coupé. Voilà. That one was tricky, right? Numéro 3. Les filles. So we're talking to the girls. Les filles. C'est Louise qui vous, the verb coiffer, ce matin. So, girls, did Louise do your hair this morning? Agreement or no agreement? Okay, here we go. Les filles, c'est Louise qui vous a coiffé ce matin? Ah, so let's look at this. We know that we're talking to girls, so that's a plural feminine group of people. And we're asking, is it Louise who did your hair this morning? So if we just said, Louise vous a coiffé, that's what we're saying really. C'est Louise qui vous a coiffé ce matin. We have another agreement that has to be made because that vous right there, that's a direct object pronoun. and it precedes the past participle coiffées. We know that vous is feminine and plural because we're talking to the girls. You might say, how do I know that vous is a direct object pronoun? How do I know it's not a reflexive pronoun or an indirect object pronoun? Well, you have to know something about the verb coiffer. If we were just saying Louise is doing the girl's hair, we would say Louise, in the present tense, Louise coiffe les filles. Who does she coiffe? The girls. So the girls are a direct object. If we're speaking to the girls, then the vous is also a direct object. D'accord? All right. Numéro 4. Les étudiants, le verbe discuter, entre eux, près de la tour Eiffel. Les étudiants discuter entre eux, près de la tour Eiffel. Agreement or no agreement? No agreement. You don't need any agreement here. Les étudiants ont discuté entre eux près de la tour Eiffel. So the students talked amongst themselves or had a discussion amongst themselves near the Eiffel Tower. No agreement. Avoir is our helping verb. We don't have any preceding direct object or direct object pronoun. We just have a subject and a helping verb, which is avoir, and a past participle, discuter. And you don't have to make agreement when avoir, between a subject and a past participle when avoir is your helping verb. So that one's pretty straightforward. Okay, numéro 5. Les touristes japonaises, the verb is se parler, près de l'Arc de Triomphe. So this se parler, it looks very much like a reflexive verb, but here it's a reciprocal verb because what we mean is the Japanese tourists talked to each other, reciprocal, right? Talked to each other near the Arc de Triomphe. Now we know that the Japanese tourists are feminine because it says japonaises. So what are you going to do with se parler? Well, yes, you have to use être still as your helping verb, whether it's reciprocal or reflexive. But do you make agreement? Why or why not? Well, here, look at this. We're not going to make agreement. Les touristes japonaises se sont parlé près de l'Arc de Triomphe. But why don't we make agreement? It doesn't make sense because usually we do this with reciprocal or even reflexive verbs. The reason why is because the pronoun se here, it is a reflexive or a reciprocal pronoun, but it is also an indirect object pronoun. Think about it. If you're saying the Japanese tourists speak to each other, then what you're saying, let's say that I say, I speak to you, or I speak to, I speak to Julie. Je parle à Julie. So anytime you have à Julie, if you have à or pour before a person or people, that makes that person or those people or even animals indirect. So this se right here, the fact that it's an indirect object pronoun sort of trumps the fact that it's a reflexive pronoun. D'accord? So no agreement. Why? Because we make agreement when we have a preceding direct object pronoun, but not with indirects. So the se here, just to make it clear, I'm getting real grammatical with my speech, but the se is kind of like a lui, right? But we're saying that they're doing it to each other. So your other indirect object pronouns, of course, are lui and leur, but let's keep in mind that me, te, ce, nous, and vous can also be either direct or indirect. So preceding indirect object pronoun, no agreement. Okay, numéro 6. Mes copains, and the verb is descendre, pour le week-end. So it just means my friends came down for the weekend. Agreement or no agreement? Well, Descendre is an être verb. It's on my Dr. and Mrs. P. Vandertramp list. Mes copains sont descendus pour le week-end. Être is your helping verb. The subject, mes copains, is plural. It's also masculine. So we do have to make agreement by adding an S to the verb, the past participle descendu. D'accord? You're making the subject and past participle agree in this case. Numéro 7. Ma femme, and then we use the verb monter along with the adverb facilement, les escaliers. So it just means my wife easily went up the stairs. Agreement or no agreement? Well, the first thing you should ask yourself is monter. This is on my list of Dr. and Mrs. P. Vandertramp verbs as well, but monter is one of those verbs that can go either way. Sometimes it uses être, and sometimes it uses avoir as a helping verb. So, ma femme a facilement monté les escaliers. We have to use avoir with monter here because it is followed by a direct object, les escaliers. What did she go up? The stairs. So we make no agreement. Avoir is my helping verb. Monter is my past participle. So I don't make agreement with ma femme, and I don't have a preceding direct object or direct object pronoun. Okay, numéro 8. Elle, we're still talking about my wife, right? Ma femme. Elle l'est, verb monter, 3 fois aujourd'hui. So she went up them 3 times today. Agreement or no agreement? Well, we know here we have les, and that's a direct object pronoun. Remember, it replaces les escaliers. So what happens when you have a preceding direct object pronoun? You have to make agreement on the past participle. Elle les a montés 3 fois aujourd'hui. So she climbed them 3 times today. Again, we're using avoir because of the direct object. D'accord? And here the direct object is in the form of a pronoun which precedes the past participle monter. So we have to make agreement. Not with elle, but with les escaliers. Numéro 9. Ce sont les mêmes bottes que nous, le verbe voir, à la boutique en ville. So those, or these, are the same boots that we saw at the shop in town. Agreement or no agreement? Okay, let's have a look. Ce sont les mêmes bottes que nous avons vues à la boutique en ville. You see this? Now we don't have a preceding direct object pronoun. We have the actual direct object, which is but, coming before the past participle vu. Ce sont les mêmes bottes que nous avons vues à la boutique en ville. So, what did we see at the shop in town? The same boots. So when you have an actual preceding direct object pronoun, you'll notice that it's going to be followed by que. All right? So that's a big clue for you. So the es on vu is agreeing with the direct object but and not with anything else. Okay? Numéro 10. Ne t'inquiète pas. That means don't worry. Ne t'inquiète pas. Nous, le verbe rentrer, tous les vélos dans le garage. Il ne risque rien. So it means don't worry. We put all the bikes back in the garage. They don't risk anything. They're safe. Okay? So what are we going to do with rentrer? Agreement or no agreement? And also, rentrer is a Dr. and Mrs. P. Vandertramp verb, isn't it? But look at what comes after rentrer. Tous les vélos. Yeah, that's a direct object. So when rentrer is followed by a direct object, you do use the verb avoir as a helping verb. Ne t'inquiète pas, nous avons rentré tous les vélos dans le garage, il ne risque rien. no agreement. Avoir, this follows a basic rule. Avoir is your helping verb because of the direct object that follows it. Okay? Voilà, it's pretty straightforward as long as you understand the difference as to when you need to use être with rentrer, and that would be if it's not followed by anything or if it's followed by some kind of preposition, and you have to use avoir if it's followed by a direct object. Remember, direct objects answer the questions who and what. So what did we put back in the garage? The bikes. Allez, numéro 11. Ma sœur se faire les ongles. And that just means my sister had her nails done. This is a faire causative construction. So are we going to make agreement or not? We use the faire causative construction when someone is having something done for themselves. They're not doing it to themselves. They're having it done by someone else. So look at this. Oh, goodness. Sorry. Okay. Ma sœur s'est fait faire les ongles. Ma sœur s'est fait faire les ongles. We're not going to make agreement. And this is particular to the faire causative construction. Even though your subject, ma sœur, is feminine, when you have a faire causative construction, you do not make agreement on your past participle fait. D'accord? Okay, allez, just one more. Regardez toutes les fautes que vous, and then the verb is faire. So I want you to say, look at all the mistakes that you made. Agreement or no agreement? Regardez toutes les fautes que vous avez faites. Now let's remember, here, les fautes, what did you make? Mistakes. If it answers the question what, that makes it a direct object. Here we have the actual direct object preceding the past participle fait. There you have your word que that I told you about a little earlier. So we have to make agreement between the mistakes, les fautes, which are feminine and plural, and your past participle fait. Voilà. Again, you stuck with me 2 extra minutes today. Merci beaucoup. I hope this made sense to you. And again, if you're new to the Passé Composé, this is just something to keep in mind and another reason to pay attention to every detail that you learn in beginning French because it will serve you very well as you move forward. Merci. À demain.